Welcome to Fishing Fridays radio podcast, where we go behind the scenes and uncover the tactics and strategies top fishermen are using to catch more fish, dominate tournaments, and how you can get those same results. Here is your host, Mike Grady.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dig In Fishing Fridays. I'm your host, Mike Grady. I'm excited today because today we have Matt Becker here. Matt is an FLW Series angler from Finleyville, Pennsylvania. He's a Forrest Wood Cup qualifier. In 2017, he is the Costa Series Thousand Island champ, and Matt is the 2018 FLW Tour Rookie of the Year. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're looking forward to talking to you here, Matt, and I understand you're down on Toho right now.
Yes, sir. We just finished up practice there yesterday, and we got the off day today, hanging out, rigging up, cleaning up the boat and everything, and looking forward to kicking this tournament off there in the morning.
What time do you get started?
I think you take off around 7 tomorrow.
Nice. And the weather's good?
Yeah, weather's real nice. It's warming up, and the fish are coming.
So you're south of Orlando. I'm here in Daytona, and I just talked to one of my fishing buddies up in Missouri, and it's icy conditions and like 25.
Yeah, can't complain about it. It's pretty nice here in Florida right now. I think the high is around 80 today. The sun's out, not a cloud in the sky today, so life is good today.
Great time for fishing. So let me ask you, Matt.
Sir.
Tell our listeners, how did you actually get started fishing?
Well, my dad got me into fishing, probably 1 year old. That's all I ever remember doing. So he got me into it, not so much the competitive side of it, but he got me into just fishing, going out every weekend, having fun, catching bass. And so that's what got me started in the fishing. I fell in love with it and went from there.
That leads me to my next question is, how did you start fishing competitively?
Well, once I fell in love with fishing, I was like, well, shoot, you can make money fishing. I want to do that. So I got into every little local club I could, every local tournament, and just started working my way up the ranks from there. My dad helped me there a bunch. He introduced me into a small local family club, and he sort of got involved in some lower end tournaments just so I could do it. And once I turned 16, I started going off on my own and, built up from there.
Can you tell us a little bit about your path from when you started fishing competitively to obviously now you're in the FLW series?
Yeah. So, I started locally there in Pennsylvania, just local Bass Nation tournaments. We got to travel the state and maybe down in a couple other states around the area, more just regional stuff. And I did that till I was probably 20, 21 years old, and then started jumping into the FLW BFLs. And I never really had the finances to be able to fish the higher levels, so that's why I started at the BFLs. I jumped into there, and first year in the BFLs, I won enough money to pay my Costa Series entries. So I took that money and paid my Costa entries there, and that would have been 2017, and went and fished the full year of the Costas there, the Northern Division, and I ended up winning an event, and that gave me enough money and enough points throughout my 3 finishes to qualify for the FLW Tour. So then I jumped in the Tour last year, and now here we are.
That's a cool story. Well, let me ask you, and a lot of our listeners, really want to hear this, is when you jump up levels, and especially when you get to the level that you're at, what's the biggest problem or challenge you found in competing at the level that you're at?
It's hard to compete against the best fishermen in the world when they're fishing their strength. I'm from up north, so a lot of the lakes down south don't set up the same. So I had a huge learning curve there to get up to pace with those guys that have done that their whole lives. So it's a challenge, but I guess I'm a quick learner and learned how to do it fairly quick. I had a successful year. So
what's the difference between what you found between the northern lakes and the southern lakes?
Just how the fish set up on structure, and they don't really pattern as well up north as they do down south. Like southern lakes, you can kind of call your shot and where you're going to catch one, and northern lakes, it's more of finding a spot on a spot. So I had to adjust to that. And, Florida, especially dealing with cold fronts, that isn't much of a burden up north, but these bass don't like a 5-degree drop in temperature. So that was a big learning curve for me.
Well, as you were learning, what's the biggest thing that you've learned that's helped you succeed down here in the South?
Probably just keeping an open mind. It's can't get too dialed into one thing. The fish are always changing, so you got to be able to change with them and be able to even scrap everything you've practiced and just start over during the tournament, because if you're not catching them, somebody is somewhere, and you got to be able to figure out how to catch them, or you're going to get spanked. So you just got to keep an open mind and keep trying new things if you're not catching them, and eventually you're going to run into them.
Well, it sounds like when you go into a tournament or a particular body of water, do you have a plan when you're going out first thing in the morning?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time doing research as far as past tournament results or anything I can find on the internet, looking at maps, looking at Google Earth, that kind of stuff. So I get an idea where I want to start before I'm even launch my boat. But, that only works out half the time. A lot of times you just got to get out there and see the water before you can really figure anything out.
Do you have any apps or information sources that you really find are really helpful?
As far as doing research, I just do a lot of Google Earth and really just Google in general, Googling bass fishing on that sort of lake, looking at FLW results and that kind of stuff. But once I'm out on the water, I do like to use the Angler app. It's an app that tracks your day, where you go. You can mark when you catch a fish, and it pulls all the local weather and weather conditions. If there's a water gauge or a dam, it gives you those statistics on how much water they were pulling at that moment you caught the fish, wind speed, all that stuff. So you can go back later that evening and look at that and try and dial in a pattern and figure out what the conditions were when you were getting bit.
Gotcha. Well, as you're setting up your plan and then obviously you get on the water, what's the hardest part about implementing your plan? And then if you figure out, I guess what it comes down to is how long do you stick with your plan before you go, okay, this isn't working, I got to start, got to freewheel it?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question there. That's the hardest part, is figuring out when to pull the plug or keep with it, be stubborn. So, that's just pretty much, you got to feel it while you're out there and see if you're getting a couple bites or whatnot. That's a hard one to just make a generic, protocol for. You got to kind of feel it out while you're out there.
We've interviewed some guys that actually are more rigid with their time, but it sounds to me like you're more of a go by feel kind of guy, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of how I am, because I usually approach a tournament where I want to find where the fish are right now, like not last week, not next week. You got to find where they are right now. So, that's also kind of helped me not having any experience on some of these lakes, is I just show up like I've never seen it before and figure out where they're at right now versus past experience.
Is there anything in your basic plan that you start out with, every morning that is really, you've seen that's got, helped you be successful? So in other words, something that's common that you do every single time that actually helps you out?
Yeah, I mean, probably when I get to new body water, I'm going to start with a moving bait pretty quick, start covering water, see if I can get a bite. And then, once I get a bite or a couple bites in an area, then I'll slow down and really dissect it and figure out why they were there. But I just like to cover a lot of water and see a lot of the lake and everything like that. That way you can feel like you accomplished something.
Well, let me ask you, are you the kind of guy that keeps notes as you're going along, or are you just kind of doing it, putting everything in memory?
Little bit of both. I mean, I keep a lot of notes in my Lowrance graph. Those new HDS Lives are so quick in the processing and everything. You can go in and type in your notes on there, and then you can look at your waypoint, and all your notes are right in there. So that's pretty much how I keep my notes. Between that and the Angler app, that's really the only two things that I use to track any information other than my own brain.
Gotcha. So what have you learned that's made you better since you started fishing the FLW Tour?
Oh, so many things. I mean, it's just a constant learning process. So I try and learn something every day I'm out there. So it's continuing to grow as an angler and continue to learn little tips and tricks and everything. Like, there's so much I couldn't even put it into words.
Really? It's
yeah.
kind of, you're part weatherman, part biologist, and part magician, huh?
Yeah, you're a little bit of everything, and I just go into it as a sponge and just soak up every bit of information and everything I can learn every lake I go to, and hopefully one day it'll all come together for me.
You ever get advice from other guys or, legends of the sport?
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite parts about it, is just hanging around with the other guys, talking, fishing, and you hear others' opinions, and that's how you learn a lot of things, is just talking to other pros. And
nice. Well, lastly, as we come to the end of our interview, I wanted to ask you the two most important questions to all of our listeners is, what's your most successful fishing secret?
Successful fishing secret. I'm not sure that I have any fishing secrets. It's just keep a positive attitude, never give up, and just have confidence in yourself and know that you're going to catch them eventually.
Nice. I think that applies to a lot of things, fishing and otherwise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
My next question for you is, what's your most successful or your favorite lure or bait that you use?
Most successful as far as winning money would probably just be a Senko, because you can catch a bass on that anywhere in the country. I'm really not a technique specific guy. Like, I try and be well-rounded and use it all. So I don't really, have a certain bait that I'm known for or anything like that. So I just try and catch them on different bait, whatever they want to bite.
But you seem to like the Senko, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat a Senko. When there's money on the line and you need a bite, you can pick up that Senko and catch one. So.
Gotcha. Well, I'll tell you what, this interview has been very enlightening, but, there is a business side to competitive fishing. So do you have any sponsors you want to promote or talk about? And do they provide any products? And if they do, where can they get them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, without sponsors, we wouldn't be able to do this. They help us so much to get out here and fish for a living. So, Favorite Rods and Googan Baits, they really stepped up this year and helping me out. They make some great rods and some awesome baits. Fisherman Central, that's a tackle superstore. So look out for them. Check them out, fishermancentral.com. They got everything you might need, and they're based out of Ohio. So all of us on the East Coast can get our bait shipped in a couple of days for free. So you can't beat that. They got everything you might need on their website. So they're a pretty nice tackle shop. Other than that, we got Phoenix and Mercury, got the best boat out there, and got that boat from Weedas Marine. They got some of the best pricing in the industry on a bass boat. And that's pretty much it.
Nice. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right, Matt. Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you very much. You provided our listeners with a lot of really great information. I want to thank you for being on our show.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, Matt, good luck in the FLW series this year.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Fishing Fridays Radio Podcast. If you'd like to be notified anytime we release a new episode, just hit subscribe and like this episode. Or you can subscribe over at fishingfridaysradio.com. In addition to that, we would love to send you a free gift. You can find that free gift at giveaway.digandanchors.com. Thanks again for listening.